And our next speaker is Karsten Donat, and he's from the Animal Health Service, Thuringian Social. Oh, he's translated, thanks. Thuringian Animal Diseases Fund. And he's going to talk about the Thuringian Bovine Johne's Disease Control Program, and I'm sure you'll find this very interesting. Karsten.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction. Thank you to the organizers of this World Buiatrics Congress to give us the opportunity to present our results from our regional control program to this audience from all over the world. Thuringia, where the hell is that? It's in the middle of Europe, it is in Germany, and actually Thuringia is in the middle of Germany. People call it the Queen Heart of Germany because of its lovely countryside, and now, presently, 2.2 million people live there, and yeah, unfortunately, the number of dairy cows is decreasing as well. Most of them are German Holstein cows. They live in comparable large dairies with a mean herd size of about 300, which is less than in New Zealand, but much more than in some other regions of Germany and Europe. We have about 40,000 beef cows of different breeds, and the herd size have vary to a large extent from some cows to 1,000, and that's the population, the cattle population in Thuringia. Our animal health service is based in Jena. It's a bioscience city in a nice surrounding, which had a vet school which was founded 200 years ago, and Goethe, this nice guy that was cited in this morning, was involved in this process. Two, the animal health service has to advise farmers and veterinary authorities in animal health issues, and one of these issues is to coordinate programs for infectious disease control, the voluntary programs, and one of those is the paratuberculosis control program in Thuringia, which has a 15-year history now. We went through different stages, as you can see here, and we got the first strategic control program after this years of emerging disease control with culling and of clinical cases. In 2003, we did serological testing in the cattle herds combined with hygiene improvement and removal of the MAP shedders after confirmation by fecal culture. Farmers and we were not very satisfied with the results of these activities, so we evaluated the program, and we decided to switch to fecal culture testing of the cows without serological pre-testing in 2008. Then we found much more MAP shedders, and the testing schedule allowed us the certification of MAP non-suspected cattle herds. We refined this program after these federal recommendations that were published 2 years ago by the federal government. The data I will present today refers to that stage of control, but I will use 1 minute to show you the idea of these new recommendations. It clearly defines some stages of control: the control stage, a certification stage that lasts 3 years, and then it ends up with the herd status certification. You go to the next stage if all cows are tested fecal culture negative in the herd, and you fall back to control stage if you have a new shadow. This control stage is offered in 3 different levels, which allows more people to enroll in the program. What we do in Thuringia is level 3. Oh, sorry, back here. Is that level 3? But it's much more comfortable for people to enroll in the program with level 1, just aims to identify MAP-positive herds by environmental sampling and do some hygiene. But we advise the farmers to switch to level 2 if they are positive here, and not too long stay at serological testing and then go to level 3. So, what we do in Thuringia is a very complex and intensive control program. Our objectives are to reduce within-herd prevalence, to improve animal health and economy in the herds, and certify those herds who went through the control process. The aim is to prevent the spread of the disease between herds. The Animal Health Service is responsible for the program and involves private vets for sampling and to ensure biosecurity in our herds. Yeah, the participation is somehow spotty, I know that. It could be better. We have involved more than 70 dairy herds now, but these are the large ones, and we cover about a quarter of the population with our program. It's much less in the beef sector, where we have smaller participation. So, our diagnostic approach is, as I explained, fecal culture at individual level and environmental sampling at herd level. And we advise the farmers to remove test-positive animals as soon as possible, at least in herds with low within-herd prevalence. If the herd prevalence is higher, so we advise them no further breed these animals. After 3 years, you can get certified as a MAP unsuspicious herd if all tests are negative. And of course, we go to the farms and recommend measures to improve management and hygiene. We try to do it herd-specific in dairy herds and have a more or less general catalog of measures in beef herds. There are some financial incentives, some financial aid coming from our Animal Disease Fund. We support the sampling by the veterinarians and the testing. We cover about 50% of the costs of the laboratory tests. So this leads us to the following results. As you can see, we got 40 herds now certified as MAP non-suspected, and most important, 10 of them were initially MAP positive. For me, this is the proof of principle that it is possible to control the MAP infection in former MAP positive herds to a level that MAP is not detectable anymore at individual fecal samples from any cows. It can be called eradication, but the reviewers of our paper told us not to use that word because this period might be too short, but we will see in future if we can keep our herds at this level, and I can tell you that we retested most of them, and only 3 of them had failed and went back to the control stage because they bought infected animals, from other herds. So, but what happened here? What happened in the herds under control. So we selected a subset of herds that are, from those we have a complete data set. All these were dairy herds, and we did some statistics on that, and we found that the within-herd prevalence decreased significantly from 2008 to 2014. And when we account for the initial within-herd prevalence, then it's very obvious that in herds with a high initial within-herd prevalence, it worked very well, but it doesn't work well in those herds with low initial prevalence. So, conclusions for further practice. In the final step of control, when you reach a low within-herd prevalence, then you have to intensify measures, and the critical points are, first, implementation of hygienic measures. We published these data in the Journal of Dairy Science very recently, and here you can see that a separate calving pen for MAP shedders is very crucial for incidence reduction, and if herds have such a facility and use this, then they get a better incidence reduction. The next point is the culling. We compared herds regarding their mean holding time of MAP shedders, and as you can see, when it is below a level of 250 days, then you get a better incidence reduction if it is otherwise. So, compliance with testing regulation is the next important point. We realized that we have to do annual on-farm inspections and look what happens there. We try to enhance participation, we intensified public relations, did professional training for farmers, created a website, designed an e-learning. Yeah, and we realized that beef herds are interested as well and good partners. Nonetheless, they need a special agreement for purchase of breeding bulls. So, to summarize that, I can say that the recommendations of the federal government 2 years ago gave new impulses for power TB control in Germany. It led to a revision and partly harmonization of regional control programs. The Thuringian results demonstrate practicability and efficiency of the control efforts. It is possible to identify and certify non-suspected herds, and it is possible to reduce the incidence in MAP-positive herds to a level that MAP shedders are not detectable anymore for 3 years or more, to a level that allows certification of former positive herds as MAP non-suspected, and most important, to a level that minimizes the risk of MAP transmission to other herds. The key points to intensify control in Thuringias are the removal of MAP shedders from the herd and the implementation of effective management and hygienic measures. And last but not least, I have to say thank you to all farmers and people working for paratuberculosis control in Thuringia. Thank you. And I'm open for your questions.
Thank you very much, Karsten. As that's the last talk before lunch, gone to lunch back at 13:45, it says on the screen now. Yeah. Well, it isn't on yours, it says it on mine. But, you know, we can have a few quick questions, and then maybe if you have a long question, you could keep it and have lunch with Karsten and talk him. So if you'd like to make your way to the microphone, if you have a question there. Okay, I've just got a quick one here from him. How did you get the information about how long you held the MAP shedders and after the test result was reported, and do you have certain written protocols for the culling?
No, unfortunately, we have these written protocols not yet, but I'm sure we have to create them. We draw the information from the National Cattle Database and combined this data with the data from our laboratory. So we could calculate this mean holding time per map shedder at farm.
Just before you all go, oh, sorry, one question.
Yeah. Okay. Just a quick one down. Fantastic presentation. Great bit of work you've done in Germany. It's absolutely brilliant what you've done. I just want to know about the costings. If you were going to roll this out and do more of this commercially on farms, how much would it cost per cow, the system you've got? How much would it cost if the farmer had to pay for it?
At present, the farmer has to pay 10 euros for the annual fecal culture test, and that's it. There are other costs on farm, of course. The removal of map shedders is costly. We support this now with a financial aid of 200 euros for these farms in the very final stage of control, because they have the most difficulties to gain a benefit from control. It's more easy to have a benefit if prevalence is higher, because you have really a reduced milk yield, and farmers see that it becomes better when they do control. But in the very final stage, it's difficult. So, and other costs are, not least, that's it. Yeah.
That's great, thanks. Just before you go, could I encourage you to go downstairs and have a look at the posters? There's 12 very good posters down there. We got more abstracts submitted this year than there was ever submitted before, so it was very hard to choose who was oral and who was the abstracts. There's 12 very good posters down there. There's one by Louise Britton, who talked this morning about post-mortem evaluation of adult cattle. There's one by Marie Fectu, who also talked this morning about comparison between organic farms and conventional dairy farms. There's one by Ronan O'Shaughnessy, which they referenced this morning, on miRNAs, something I don't understand, but he'll explain it to you down there. Genetic markers of resistance to Johne's disease for a group in Guelph. Prevalence in Portuguese dairy herds by Elizabeth Martins, who gave a presentation. She'll be down there at the post. You can talk to her some more. Another paper on evaluation of colostrum. There's a paper on applying sociology to the control and prevention of paratuberculosis, which I think is a big part of it to get farmers to participate and not drop out. Conor McAloon's got a good paper on Bayesian estimation. There's Aidan Kennedy has another one on control of MAP in an Irish context, and there's another paper from Portugal. Whether he'll be there or not after last night's results, I don't know. And Peter and Dick are also down there talking about the My Healthy Herd. Now, there's two more papers, but you're all going out, so I want to tell you one more important thing before you go, is that in 4 years' time, we've been delighted that out 2 weeks ago in Nantes, we were approved for the Johne's ICP. So if you have an interest in paratuberculosis, come back to Dublin in 4 years' time. It'll be a smaller group. There'll be just as much drink, so you'll have to drink it between 300 rather than between 3,000. So you'd be guaranteed that you'll have a good time in 4 years' time. So we can all go off for lunch. And I'd like you to give another thanks to the speakers. And they're all down here in the corner if you have any more questions.